Hello, you're listening to the G.O.A.T Pod. This is a podcast where we discuss the best-selling albums of all time. Hosted by Jason Purrier, Steven Schott, Daniel Brown, and me, Jared Slusher. Now let's go ahead and dive into today's episode. Hello, and welcome to the G.O.A.T Pod, everybody.
What's up?
Hi, Jared.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm well.
Well, I've got a question for you.
Do you know? This is unprecedented. When have we ever begun one of these things with a question?
Not once
Not once.
have we done an icebreaker.
Well, why don't we start now with continuing with the same thing?
I agree.
How many of you, if not all of you, have had an awkward situation like where you've had to maybe face an ex, not necessarily like a romantic partner, but at least maybe like ex relationship, ex friendship kind of thing?
That's deep. Well, I'll start off. There was this one time when we were at Carowinds, and my girlfriend stepped on a frog and killed it until it was dead.
Yes.
And all of its guts splattered out from underneath her shoe. And then my friend Jared
On purpose.
Screeched in horror. And it really put a damper on the rest of the
This poor
theme park
frog.
day.
No, it didn't. So many more
No,
fun things happened later. I forgot about that.
That's
That's for some reason that's the first thing that came to mind.
like she went out of her way to just.
No,
No, she wasn't like stalking the frog.
okay.
What's funny is that she was actively trying to make sure that people didn't step on frogs, and then she stepped backwards and completely squished it. And I was like, "Ah!"
That's insane.
Man.
Man,
It was a pretty
that's a
gruesome
good story.
sight.
I don't know if that answers the question, but it's a good story.
That's
It doesn't.
that's the story I wanted.
That's what I said though.
Well, she's his ex now.
That's
So-
true. Yeah.
Because of the frog.
Because
I don't think that's true. But anyway,
Jason,
Dan,
you want to go
yeah,
next?
go for
I
it.
can go
Or-
next. Okay,
yeah.
I'll go next.
someone start talking.
So it was awkward turned good with an ex.
Okay.
Or turned friendly, I guess is way more accurate.
So not good, just friendly.
So at the camp that we used to work at, it was my last ever week as a counselor in training, and I got sick. And the female who was the first aid provider that year was my very first girlfriend, but we had been broken up for a year. And it ended quickly, and it ended very poorly. On both of our ends, we were young, and I didn't know how to communicate, and I did not want to like sit down and have the conversation with her to give closure or to provide like a real reason. I was just like, I'm done. And then a year later, I'm stuck in the infirmary with her almost overnight, like well into the next day, because she had a sick patient. She couldn't just leave.
Yeah.
And so we
And you
decided
were the sick patient.
I was. And so we decided to play Ask Me Anything. And it just turned into the moment of closure that she was looking for that I didn't realize I think I needed. Talking about a relationship, talking about like why it didn't work, talking about like different aspects of it. That caused us to now have a fairly decent friendship afterwards, and like being able to actually stand being in the same room as each other. And for a long time, we would like get together and catch up and keep up, mostly because we had like gotten through that awkwardness of being together for like an entire day stuck.
Yeah.
That's something we can all learn from.
see your story, it has a good upside on the end. Mine, nothing changed relationship wise.
Okay.
But this is what happened. So I was at a Carolina Hurricanes game with a large group of friends. And for whatever reason, I ended up sitting in several different seats that night. And that was the issue. So we went two groups of people. I had my seats with Andrew. Those that know. We were sitting in our seats, and then all of our friends were sitting like 2 sections over in their seats. So we're in our seats. Second period's about to start. We're like, heck yeah, let's go sit with our buddies. They got some extra seats next to them. We're all good. So we go sit with them. And I notice behind me is my ex from college, her younger brother. And I was like, oh, cool.
Oh.
We were chill. There's no problem there. We see him and then a bunch of his friends from college. And we're like, oh, gosh, we know everybody. Great, cool. I go to get a soft drink between the second and the third period.
First mistake.
That was my first mistake. My second mistake was instead of entering the side that I'd been entering on, I entered the section on the other side. Second mistake. Third mistake. As I enter our row, I then notice that my ex was sitting at the end of the row of people. I'd just not seen her this whole time.
Oh.
And so I'm like, oh crap. I should have ignored and kept walking. But no, I said, if I don't say anything, it's going to be really awkward. So I just said, hey, to which she then stands up, yells at me to come talk to her in front of everyone. So I do to calm down the situation. I sit down next to her. The period begins. I'm now sitting next to my ex, having a slightly a forced conversation. And then problem arises where her boyfriend at the time, who was actually her boyfriend before we started dating, that she then started dating again after we were dating, comes up. And I apparently was sitting in his seat that she told me to sit in. And so then he sits down.
You're wearing his jacket.
I cannot go back to my seat because the game is happening and everyone's going to get really mad at me until like there's a break. And I guarantee you this was the longest like no stop play of hockey that's ever happened. It was like 7 minutes, like the puck never stopped moving. Wow. And I'm just waiting for anything to get out of there as I have to sit between her and her current boyfriend, who again was her boyfriend before we were dating, for like 5 to 7 minutes, just sitting there while she keeps talking to me, not talking to her current boyfriend, and really not even acknowledging that he was there until finally I could go. And I get back, and all the guys that didn't know that she was my ex had just found out because Andrew had told everybody by whispering down the line about what was going on. Wow. And yeah, it was a hectic 5 to 7 minutes of my life to have to sit between my ex and her ex / current now boyfriend. But things are okay because now I'm married to my wife and they are actually married to each other. They just got married like 3 weeks ago. So that, or no, longer ago than that.
That's a beat we can all dance to.
I guess it turned out okay for them. So yeah, that was my awkward ex encounter.
Who won the game?
All right.
The Hurricanes.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh, sweet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, Jarrett.
Yeah.
What random question here. What's a moment that you had that might have been a little bit awkward or like uncomfortable with an ex?
Always.
Yeah. So Steven's girlfriend at the time stepped on this frog.
That was pretty awkward.
Poor Sammy.
Especially the frog.
We so I was at an Amberlin concert and I was hanging out with a friend of mine, and I had dated his sister. And when I made plans with him, I also didn't click in my head that obviously she would also be there. And so I spent a long time like working up the courage in myself to be okay with the situation because I hadn't seen her in like, I guess 2 years at that point. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to hang out with her the whole time. And there's nothing I can do about that because I also want to go to the concert because it's fun. And it wasn't as awkward as I thought it would be. We talked. We were right next to each other the whole time at the concert. And I was like, we can function in front of each other. There's no hard feelings. And that brings us to today's album, Rumours by Fleetwood Mac. And how in the world does that segue? I'm glad you asked.
So, that was beautiful. That was
so Rumours by Fleetwood Mac got I think this is the highest certified album we've gotten to so far on the list. 30.3 million certified sold copies and 40 million claimed. It was released February 4th, 10 days before Valentine's Day 1979. This is Jarrett in post. I'm in 1977. Recorded over the span of about 6 months in 1976 amidst relational turmoil within the band.
Dun, dun, dun.
And in case you're wondering how much turmoil, well, let me tell you who the band members are. We've got John McVie on bass and his ex-wife, Christy McVie, on the keys and vocals. Lindsey Buckingham on guitar and vocals, and his ex, Stevie Nicks, vocals. And Mick Fleetwood on drums and percussion, who wasn't dating anyone in the band at the time, but was also going through a divorce as this album was being recorded.
Oh,
So
my
that's
goodness.
what is all going on as this is
Wow.
being recorded. And so Fleetwood Mac.
So you're telling me
Yeah.
if I had written an entire album in that 7 minutes I sat there, I too could have been one of the most sold albums.
I think you're reading into that.
Maybe the most streamed 1 minute song ever. I don't know.
I agree.
But so Fleetwood Mac originally started as a British blues band in 1967, led by Peter Green. They had the hits like Albatross, Black Magic Woman, which is more popular, I think, by Santana because they covered it. But by this point in the band's career in 1977, they'd hit kind of like a career revival with their previous album, Fleetwood Mac, came out in 1975. And that's where you see the shift from like blues into more of a pop sound, especially once they added Buckingham and Nicks. And kind of talking about the turmoil of the time and how they were writing, I've actually invited Christy McVie to speak.
We were all writing songs about each other, basically, although we were unaware of it at the time. All the songs were about our own private relationships and our own troubled relationships. And I think it was John that suggested the name Rumours, because we were writing sort of journals and diaries about one another, which we hadn't realised till we heard all the songs all strung together.
So obviously I had her record that little snippet to give to
Wow.
us.
That's
You
incredible.
have connections, man.
Dude.
I do.
Wow,
Mostly to
that's
Pluto TV, but anyways. This album was produced by Fleetwood Mac to the whole band, and Ken Calais, who some of you may know from the Marshall Tucker Band or Paul McCartney and Wings, or his daughter, Colby Calais.
I knew that.
And
Didn't know there was a connection, but I do know Colby.
me neither, till I saw they had the same name. I'm like, oh, that sounds good. And then they're related. Makes sense. And Richard, I want to say Dashit, maybe to shoot.
Mustache.
Bless you.
Which cool thing about Richard, he began his career like doing maintenance work, sweeping floors at Sound City, which is where it was recorded, and that's where he met Lindsey Buckingham. And after meeting Lindsey, they were like, "All right, you got to work with us, man." And so went from being a janitor to being a producer.
That's crazy.
That's awesome, man. That's cool.
So that's what's going on during this album. Jason, do you want to hit us up with that track listing?
Yeah, let me run us through it. So this is another one of these great albums that was on vinyl. So we have two sides to this album. So starting on the front side, we have Secondhand News, followed by Dreams, which is one of the singles. Never Going Back Again, Don't Stop, another single. Go Your Own Way, which was the lead single of this album. And finishing out side one, it was Songbird. Now, starting side two, we have The Chain, You Make Love and Fun, another single. I Don't Want to Know, Oh Daddy, and Gold Dust Woman. And then there was Silver Springs on B-side or like the CD cassette as well. But if you listen on like Spotify, it's just going to stop. At least the main like remaster that pops up is going to stop right there at Gold Dust Woman. So
Yeah.
those are our tracks.
And just as records have two sides, stories have two sides. And so, Steven, why don't you hit us up with those lyrics and themes about breakups and relationships?
Yeah, like all this, all the lyrics, all the themes, they are very expressive of all of the turmoil that was going on in the band and within the band. And then another thing is Gold Dust Woman is some of the lyrics might allude to her drug addiction, Stevie Nicks' drug addiction.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I've got to say that drug addiction's also going on during this recording.
Oh
so.
yeah,
Yeah.
What's not going on here?
it's all going on.
Health,
Living-
stability.
living multiple lives during this recording.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's in Gold Dust Woman, there's that lyric, "Take your silver spoon, dig your grave," which is, I think it's a very powerful sounding lyric. The lyrics in this album in general are quite, emotionally raw. But yeah, I don't have much more to say about it, but
Well,
tell me
this
what you
is
guys thought.
maybe less so on the lyrics themselves. So we'll get back to it, but I think it makes sense to put it here. Of breakup albums, like you hear breakup album, and I immediately go to like thoughts and vibes that come from like 21. That we've reviewed before.
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
very
Adele, yeah.
intense, kind of like somber, reserved, or the other side is just like angry. You really don't get much of that in this album. Like it's some of them almost sound not happy, but like more jovial and fun
Yeah.
in the questioning.
A little more
and so
optimistic.
They
Well,
take
there's-
these.
yeah.
Go ahead, Dan.
Well, there's a lot more of letting go. There's a lot more of like acceptance of the end.
Yeah.
Particularly in Go Your Own Way and in Dreams. In Go Your Own Way, you can go your own way. You can call it another lonely day. Like we're done.
Yeah.
Starting with this theme of independence, and then Dreams just starts with you say you want your freedom. Well, who am I to keep you down? Man.
No, and so it's so neat, like you were saying there, Stephen. Like the focus, like the lyrics are deep, and like if you put them to different music, they're gonna hit you so vastly differently. Yet with such kind of somber lyrics, they take it in such a way that honestly, like I think it's almost like a good and healthy way of like kind of dealing with it in a jovial manner, not like making a joke of any of the thoughts, but creating this thing like, hey, it's not the end of the world, like where we're at. But we need to handle, we need to process, we need to get these thoughts out, and we need to like move on, move past them, or at least move through them.
Well, I think something that's so beautiful is amidst all of the turmoil, amidst all of these relationship woes, and all of like the heartbreak that they're dealing with, they also release the chain. If you don't love me now, you'll never love me again. I can still hear you saying you would never break the chain. Like just holding on together, regardless of differences, regardless of heartache, regardless of past, they're together. They're not severing their ties. They're sticking with it. At least in their creation of art, at least in their creation of this music.
Yeah. And what's interesting too is that all three of them, Nix, Buckingham, and McVie, wrote their own songs. Like there was some collaboration with the others, of course, as they're a band, but each one was writing about their own experience. And I think the Chain is the only one that has like the whole band as writing credits. But what kind of effect do you think that has on this album, that there's like three different perspectives to at least two different stories going on at the same time? So one question I have would be, so that obviously there's like multiple people in the band, multiple people writing songs. Is there any kind of similarities or contrast between the different writers of the songs, or is there any kind of effect that having multiple songwriters has on an album like this?
Well, Jared, I think it does. It creates a tension throughout the album, similar to the tension between two people in a relationship. You get different perspectives of sometimes like the same issues that are going on between the people, and I think getting those different perspectives enhances the album as a whole, because you get the pain that each one is feeling, and you can empathize with all different characters in the situation, but like you guys were saying, they still find reasons for optimism amidst all that pain. and you can tell that they don't sugarcoat any of the bad stuff. I mean, you guys were saying that it's strangely optimistic at times, which is true, but they don't sugarcoat the bad stuff either, which makes the optimism and the acceptance a lot more powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that we can go from dreams, like have your freedom, never going back again, and then don't stop, and then go your own way, like back to back, all different streams of thought. And some even conflicting against each other, two opposite sides of the coin there. Well, cool. Are there any other thoughts on lyrics and themes?
I think seeing that you've got so many songs written by the individuals, and then you said one or two that were credited with all of them, it shows an incredible amount of trust.
Yeah.
To maintain culture, to maintain viewpoints, and even just like, okay, they wrote this song, we're gonna trust it, we're gonna sing it, it's on the album, that's it. And to come together in the midst of, gosh, like we can keep talking about everything that they went through.
Yeah.
And still.
The other thing is it takes a lot of security and strength to trust these people writing the songs when they are writing bad stuff about you as a person.
Oh yeah.
So it takes a lot of artistic integrity to be like, okay, that's a good song, but they got me there.
This hurts,
right.
but it's going to make us millions.
That reminds me of Go Your Own Way. Stevie Nicks hated the line, packing up, shacking up is all you want to do, because
really,
that's not, at least according to her, that's not how she was or who she was. And Buckingham wrote the song and sang it, and so she always hated when they did that live, because it's like, that's not how it happened. But then on his side, it's like, that's how it happened.
That's crazy. I think where I land is less on the lyrical side, and I think this will help us transition to our time in musical nudities, hot takes, and so forth. But like, because of all the different writers, I felt like, at least on the musical side, it is a little bit kind of jarring throughout it, which is kind of like, in some ways, like a neat part of it. But for me, it made the album a little bit tougher to kind of like digest. Just because like you're constantly kind of jumping from place to place, musically speaking. I think there's also some things, and this is a light take, this is not really a hot take, but I would have started with a different song. I feel like Secondhand News was not the way to start this album. Now
imagine starting with The Chain.
Well, yeah, I'm just even thinking, what if, I'm not saying get rid of the song, I'm not sure where to put it, but just start with Dreams. Like
I like it.
Kick in with that little drum fill. Right there at the start of Dreams is like the way you kick off this album. And maybe you throw Secondhand News to like right after Don't Stop to give a little bit of buffer there.
Okay.
There are some versions.
Go for it.
There are some versions that so they add Silver Springs, but they also move I Don't Want to Know to the first, like the opening track, which I don't agree with that.
No.
I agree. I think Dreams would have been the better opening track out of those two.
Well, here's my cool take. It's a little bit more than a light take. I would have started with Songbird. Now, I know why it's there for the sake of the end of the side.
Interesting.
But I think just like musically, it would have been a really neat way to go from Songbird straight into Dreams.
It's pretty cool.
So give it a listen. If you're listening here, go back and listen to Songbird and then Dreams back to back. Tell me what you think. Put it in the comments.
So do you feel like it should be like Songbird, Dreams, Go Your Own Way, and then I feel like The Chain at cleanup at 4 is crazy.
Well, no. Okay, so Chain still stays down because, again, we have two
You still
sides.
want it at the beginning of the second side?
Well, yeah, it's still the beginning of the second side.
Okay.
I'm just really rearranging side one and going Songbird, Dreams, I'm Never Gonna Go Back, Don't Stop, Secondhand, and finish the side with Go Your Own Way.
Okay.
I don't love
flip to the
I
Chain.
don't love that You Make Loving Fun is right after The Chain.
That's fair.
It's just
Yeah.
a jarring mood shift from The Chain, this powerhouse of a song, and like it's gritty.
Because
And
we could flip around side 2 and go Chain, I Don't Want to Know, and then You Make Lovin' Fun.
that would
I
be
feel
a
like
better
that's even
transition.
more jarring.
Maybe. I don't know. I think I felt jarred most of the album, but I think it's because of all these different writers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's probably my biggest critique of this whole album. Is
I was pretty
musically
jarred,
it
too.
just kind of jumps, and I thought it did better than some of the albums that we've talked about that have been jumpy, but
Yeah.
this one specifically, it was just like there were so many songs that I love, but when we have the argument of like what's the best album, it's like
Sure.
Mm.
On straight
love-
listen
I-
through is what we're basing this off of.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like I love a lot. Most all of the songs, but I'm like, man, it's like somebody took the best of like 3 or 4 different albums and put them together. But theme wise, it's all the same. Musically, it's like a bunch of albums, like almost like somebody made a playlist of like 1976 like breakup songs
Yeah.
and put them all together.
Well, I
And
look
I
forward
think
to
it's
hearing
neat.
how you rank this later.
Yeah, I will be interested as well.
I'm anticipating that now. Something I wanted to mention is the different albums that this kind of just shot up around. The 70s were packed with incredible music and just genre shifting and establishing albums. And this is one of them that just kind of took some rock aspects and some pop aspects and like just kind of pushed them together and made it work. And it was really, really beautiful the way that they pulled different cultures together. Some of the albums that this was up against in 1977, late 76 into 77, 2 of them are on our list. One of them was Saturday Night Fever. And one of them was Hotel California.
Oh,
wow.
In addition to David Bowie's Low, Animals by Pink Floyd, and like a Steely Dan album, The Clash, just incredible stuff. And then The Stranger by Billy Joel is another one that like cemented him as a pop artist and a rock artist. Included, just some insane albums came out at this time that have like set a culture. And this is the one that's on our list. I mean, we're going to get to Hotel California and we've heard Saturday Night Fever, but to have so much come from one year.
Yeah. And 3 of those are on the list and this high on the list.
Yeah. I thought that was really fascinating. And then I'm trying to remember where I was. I think I was with Tall Man at a rock concert. It was Foreigner and Styx.
Oh, okay.
And I want to say it was Foreigner playing, and they did the bass line from The Chain. No. I remember where I was. I was at a Casting Crowns revival.
Oh,
that's
exactly where I was.
different situation.
And it's such a different vibe. But I was like, where would I have heard this breakdown? Where would I have heard this? And I couldn't think of it until literally this moment. I was driving myself insane trying to think about this, and I just remembered.
Wow. I was listening to Casting Crowns this morning. Feeling
nostalgic. So it wasn't Casting Crowns, it was We the Kingdom. They played before the folks that say God So Loved the World.
Yeah.
We the Kingdom.
Yeah, We the Kingdom.
So they had a moment, and I can't remember now what the song was, but they did the breakdown in The Chain. And we were like first row in what's now Lenovo Center, and they could see us.
Is that what used to be PNC Arena?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they were rocking with us and they were jamming with us, and they did this, and I started just jumping like crazy, and they saw it. They were like, aha, he gets it. It was such a fun moment, because you hear that bass line, and if you know it, man, anywhere you are, you're going to start just grooving.
Yeah.
I just consider that kind of on that list of like hype moments within songs that are like near running through a wall. I put that bass line on there because like not that moment, but you know it's showing up.
Yeah.
Like, it's the anticipation that's like just driving. It's a great musical moment for me.
Nice.
I would say that little bass section is like probably the highlight of the album, at least for me.
Oh man,
Like when that kicked in, I was like,
that's
we
a good
just-
Well, and
moment.
it's a solo for each band member.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's sick.
yeah. When they recorded that originally, they just had that second half, like from the bass solo on.
Oh, wow.
Was the chain, and then there was another song that Nix wrote. I forget what it was called. You can find it in the deluxe thing on Spotify.
Yeah.
And then eventually they merged the two, changed the lyrics for the first half, and made it the chain.
Wow.
And it's
That's
just
crazy.
like, that's awesome.
Well, in the moment that we get culturally, a lot of these songs have been within culture. Places like Guardians 2, the chain was in that, and just such an incredible moment. Dreams was in American Horror Story. Go Your Own Way was in 40-Year-Old Virgin and Almost Famous, like just different places that these things show up. The chain was also, some articles consider its most famous appearance in Formula One Drive to Survive from the Netflix docuseries.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the
a good
moment in
docuseries.
Guardians 2 when the chain shows up,
Yeah.
God,
I remember where I was when I saw that.
I think I cried in that moment. Like it moved me.
It's a deep moment, man.
It is.
One thing I want to talk about, and I think this fits into highlights as well, is Lindsey Buckingham's guitar playing skills.
Oh man.
Like, I don't know if you've watched videos or seen him live, but it's like all finger picking ish. And like the way he strums is with his hand, like he doesn't use a pick, or at least I haven't seen him use a pick.
Yeah.
So if I'm
That's
wrong, you
sick.
can correct me
Pickless
on that.
Brothers.
That's
Is your bluegrass band name, but like every guitar he brings to each song, like each part is different.
that was really funny.
That was a good one, Jared.
Can we please start
I gotta
a
give it up.
bluegrass
That was
band
good.
called the Pickless Brothers?
Oh, that was so good. Well, so how many different guitars did he use?
Yeah,
Do we know?
Well, that's something I was looking into, and I'm not finding a ton of stuff clear. But as far as I'm seeing, he really kind of stuck to like one Strat. Now it was a Strat that they put an addition on it. It's called an Olympic Stratoblaster.
Okay.
And then they ran it through, I think, probably a couple different high watt amps. But as far as I could tell, like that's the only one listed there. And then it had his acoustic guitar. I don't remember which acoustic he used. And then that Olympic thing, they had these bass guitars, and they're like 3 or 4, it sounds like, in the studio of the same type of bass guitar, but each would have given a little bit of a different feel. But then it's like the same set of drums for almost everything. A couple different mics were used, and then they used a Hammond B3 organ and a Rhodes piano, and like that's it. And then obviously vocals. But like for as big of an album, like this is the first album probably since like the Beatles that it's kind of like, all right, it's these few people did all the recording stuff, other than like your strange things like with like Michael where he did like all the parts, like that's a whole different thing. But like to limit themselves to so few instruments when we're listening to all these albums that's like, oh yeah, they use 20 to 30 different instruments and then like 10 or 12 like extra musicians on top of things, to get as diverse an album as it is, with as few instruments, I think is pretty neat with this album.
Yeah. And that chair for secondhand news is a interesting choice for instrument.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, Stevie Nicks, which in the same documentary I stole Christie's excerpt from. Nicks was talking
get
about
demonetized. Sorry,
we're not even monetized. But Nicks was talking about Buckingham and how with every song that they wrote, he just knew like what to do on guitar and how he needed to play what he needed to play, whether it was chords, whether it was like what kind of guitar he was using. And like you listen to the album, obviously, like he plays all the guitars and it's not all doing the same thing. It's not all doing the same exact chord shapes. Like it's all different. He's very like big picture orchestration. This is how the song needs to go. And if you haven't checked out the classic album review that I'm talking about, it's on Pluto TV. Like, you definitely should. And he like kind of goes into more detail of how like he thought through the songs. Really interesting documentary.
I've got just one more thing. I love looking at how these different songs and a lot of the singles impact the charts, or their impact on the charts, I guess. Go Your Own Way peaked at number 10 on the US Billboard. All of this is top US chart rankings. Dreams number 1, Don't Stop number 3, You Make Loving Fun number 9. It ended the year, the album ended the year number 1 on the US Billboard 200. Secondhand News did not chart, and The Chain did not touch the charts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, The Chain wasn't even released as a single, was it?
It was not.
Like a B-side.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Oh man, I'm here to correct myself. He did actually use. I was looking at a wrong source. False sources out here, guys. No. He did use a Les Paul. His Strat. He had a Strat and a Strat with the Stratoblaster on it and a Telecaster.
Okay.
And then just different strings on acoustics.
Gotcha.
But even still, like there's a little bit of synthesizer used, but not a ton. Like most of what was done on the Hammond B3 or the Rhodes. So like there's a little bit more than I was first seeing, but not like nothing too crazy.
Gotcha.
They did break a sheet of glass, but questionable if you consider that an instrument. So,
I mean, hey, if mayonnaise is an instrument,
it is a use once instrument.
Yeah.
Man, I would even venture to say, based on the two albums side to side, Brothers in Arms and Rumours, I think personally that Lindsey Buckingham is a better guitar player than Mark Knopfler, based on the recordings we have, like as far as his skill.
Interesting.
I could take that take. I could rock with that.
So I'm sure there's other Dire Straits albums where Knopfler like does more things than we saw in Brothers in Arms, but based on those two albums, what were we going to say, Steven?
I was just going to say that I just like it when you say negative things about Brothers in Arms, the album. I think it helps heal from when you pulled that treachery, putting it higher rather than the wall. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
Well, are there any other highlights from this album that we haven't talked about?
Hit most of mine through all the things.
All right, well, let's dive in to the least faves. And we're going to start in no particular order. Steven.
It
seems like you're creating a particular order here.
Yes. But my least favorite is You Make Loving Fun.
I could see that.
Just because, it came after The Chain, which, that's a tough act to follow. But it also seems a bit more joyful and hopeful and optimistic. Of all the songs, it is more so happy, and I don't like happiness, so it's my least favorite. So
that's fair enough.
All right. Well, Dan.
I don't want to know.
What do you not want to know?
Yep. That
we're just going down the list on side 2 now.
Album, essentially. I could see what Steven was saying with You Make Love and Fun. It just in such a introspective album in a lot of situations here. It seemed like a little bit of a campy vibe switch that I was not prepared for nor thrilled with when I listened through.
Yeah. I could see that. Yeah, for sure. Jay?
So this might be the hot take then. I'm going to go with Secondhand News.
Oh, wow.
I could lose it. I could do without it. I listened to the album. I started at Dreams because I wanted to try to test it, and I got to the end, and I didn't really find any need to add that.
Wow.
So that was
your Secondhand News?
That's my Secondhand News.
Wow. That is a hot take. I'm going to join Dan for the I don't want to know. And
Yeah.
it's funny because like I understand you can read the lyrics, still like bricky uppy, as they say. But it's funny because Nyx wrote that one and Silver Springs, and Fleetwood was like, here's the thing. Silver Springs isn't gonna make the album. We're gonna put I Don't Wanna Know on. And she's like,
Yeah.
okay, well I wrote that too, so that works.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think I prefer Silver Springs to I Don't Want to Know. Which, if you haven't listened to it, Silver Springs I think fits the vibe more than I Don't Want to Know. But
That's fair.
someone else can talk about that for a long time.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. Let's now transition into faves, also in no particular order. Jason.
Oh, that's fun. Got all the options. Because I'm gonna let somebody else have it. I'm gonna go with Dreams. I think it's probably gonna be my favorite. Like,
Okay.
I'll give it that part in the chain. It's unbeatable.
Yeah.
But because also I know somebody's gonna say it. I
So
will
it's
still say
it's
it.
your favorite, but
No,
you're gonna.
I think Dreams as a whole song is my favorite. I think that's still the one I go back to. I'm like, yeah, this is great. So,
Gotcha.
as
Sweet.
a singular part of the song, that part of Dreams or of
yeah.
the
Yeah.
chain,
Yeah.
top part. But
Cool. All right. Dreams is taken. Dan, I'm going to let Steven go next.
You
chain.
rat.
Got it. The chain. Absolutely the
that
chain.
sucked.
It's not even like a difficult thing to decide. The first time I heard the chain actually was a cover of it that 3 Days Grace did. And 3 Days Grace was a rock band in the 2000s. Oh, they're still doing stuff, but
Still is.
they were very popular in the 2000s.
they're still in the 2000s.
Man,
That
Do they do that on an
song-
album?
I feel betrayed.
No. I remember seeing it on YouTube when YouTube was
Okay.
still pretty new, and it was like a live performance of it.
Okay.
But yeah, the chain, an absolute monster of a song, and so I've been having trouble with the sound and stuff, so I've muted my microphone several times. And when you guys were talking about the chain and how it was two different it was different songs before it came together, I tried to unmute quick enough to say this, but I didn't quite get there, and then the moment passed. So just pretend like you guys were talking about that, and I came in
chain.
and I was like, so what you're saying is they took two different songs and linked them together in the chain.
That's
Oh my
incredible.
God.
Oh my
Who'd ever
gosh.
thought?
That was good.
Man.
Yeah, so
Let's see what you did there.
man,
Snaps for Steven.
that really would have been pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
There's two dogs, completely at each other's throats, and so I've got to mute that. I don't want to subject you to that.
Well, we appreciate it. And speaking of appreciation, Dan, I'm going to let you have your turn now.
Really? You don't want to go before me here? You don't want to do that? Don't Stop. It's got my favorite intro of the whole album. It is a vibe. And it's and I want to be clear, I Don't Want to Know is campy.
Yeah.
Don't Stop is cheerful. I think because of the instrumentation, it's a different vibe.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Not
That
copying
just leaves-
the other two so far.
Yeah.
Don't Stop. It's still a great song. Yeah.
That leaves me to go with
Fleetwood Slush.
Hey, Jarrett.
Hey,
you had
can
to
I ask a
choose.
question real quick?
If you had to choose.
Jarrett, what's your favorite song?
In terms of your favorite song,
I'm going to have to go with
what is it?
Never Going Back Again. I'm glad Steven went with The Chain, but I was honestly thinking I would have to battle him for Never Going Back Again
Interesting.
because of all that guitar picking.
Yeah.
And it's not bluegrassy, it's just a lot of acoustic. It's folky.
It's a close second for me.
folksy. So I'm glad I got to take that one. So sweet. All right, now let's get into the weeds
Oh gosh.
of
Oh boy. Oh
the
boy.
album ranker.
Look at all these songs. Look at all these. Look at all these albums.
And we're gonna start this time with Dan.
You Ah, gosh darn it.
I told you there was no particular order.
Oh, I hate going first for these. This is really tough because how much I love some of these songs is so much greater than the album quality as a whole in its entirety from track 1 to the end of side B. Like, oh my gosh. Like, I could go on and on about even like Songbird. Like, oh man. If side B didn't exist except for the chain and it was just those songs, I would rank this so much higher than I'm about to.
Oh man.
I'm gonna put this at, and like I'm still putting it in a decent spot. Like, don't get me wrong, it's still going up there. I'm putting this at my number 7.
You're dead to me.
Wow.
Which
That's in the top 10 though.
Below Supernatural and above Let's Talk About Love. And even
That's fair.
yeah, feels a little high, but I like some of those songs so much that I'm like okay with that.
All right, Jason, how about you?
Well, what about me? Let's see. I think it's incredible that Dan and I honestly are going to almost do the exact same thing, because I'm going to put mine at number 8, which is just behind Supernatural.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, no, hold up.
Your number
Wait, sorry.
7
Your number
would be
7.
right behind Supernatural.
No, it's still 7. So right behind Supernatural, just above Saturday Night Fever.
Wow.
Which is the only difference that Dan and I have there is that I have Saturday Night Fever there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess, yes, both 7s.
I was wondering how that was going to play for you with Supernatural having different vocalists every song.
Yeah, so I think it's that same thing. It's like there's enough good songs there that I felt bad to try to put it behind Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah.
But I knew it was for sure above Let's Talk About Love for me. So I think that's where we're at.
Alrighty, Steve Areno,
Yes,
as they call you on the streets. Where are you going to place this?
that's the worst street name. I get no respect. But my ranking is going to be number 5. It's above Bad and under Metallica.
That's incredible.
Wow.
Steve Areno strikes again.
How high we've gone with this album. It's kind
Yeah.
of surprising, honestly.
Cheer it.
Yeah, I'm actually
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I'm surprised it's gone as low as it has for y'all.
Wow.
Because
Interesting.
this is the first one for me. I don't think, like, other than I Don't Want to Know, but even I Don't Want to Know, I can kind of get into. Like, I
So you kind of want to know?
don't want to skip any of these songs, and I kind of like being jarred a little bit. I mean, jar is the first half of my name.
That's true.
That
So
It's
much
the
that
dumbest
the
thing.
R comes back twice.
Yeah.
And so, like, what do you do with an album that you don't think has any skip songs? It's got to go number 1.
Wow. You're going to pass
Whoa.
Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
I am passing Sergeant Pepper.
It's a big moment.
That's
I did
huge.
not see that happening when I first listened to this album, but I have gotten
I gotta
so
do this
excited
differently.
for this album the more I've listened to it.
I got to do this differently. Hold on, give me a second. No.
Do it.
No,
You're
don't do
ruining the
that.
moment.
I know. I'm aware.
Copy paste Rumors straight on top of it.
Well, so it's gonna go here and here, here and here,
Have you
Yeah,
tried
man.
turning it off and then back on again?
here, and here. If you guys are, I don't know if this ever shows up on the YouTube.
It does.
It does.
It does. So you're just hearing me going here.
If you want to know what he just did, go to
YouTube.
YouTube and go to this
Okay.
minute mark.
So that is quite spectacular. That puts
So
Brothers in Arms
let's
at
not do the whole
19.
list because that's
Okay,
going to take
okay,
too
okay.
long. Do
Our
top 10.
Our top
Yeah.
10 is Let's Talk About Love, Appetite for Destruction, Supernatural, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, Metallica, Black Album. Tied for 4 is 21 and Bad. Third is Rumours.
Wow.
Oh,
Nice. took the bronze.
to
That's-
Abbey Road, and still at number 1 is Led Zeppelin 4 for the third in a row,
4 week, several weeks in a row.
several weeks in a row.
Yeah.
I would just like to say, I think
For the second time,
Math.
I guess in a row would be second in a row.
I'd like to just say math is cool because one person put it at 1, and then all the rest of us put it at 577,
Yeah,
and it got 3. So
Yeah.
math is cool. That's what
Math
I
is
have to
cool.
say.
I'd like to counter by saying that math is bad.
It can be bad and
we
cool.
just saw the
We just had a
opposite
whole
in
album.
effect. Beans,
We had an album called Bad, and it was pretty
Yes.
good. So
Yeah.
and that
Yeah,
stays
well,
at
that's
my
true.
number 1. Well, if I didn't put Led Zeppelin 4 low before and had the opportunity to change it.
Speaking of changes,
I just did not feel right putting it above Supernatural.
yeah,
that's fair.
man,
Yeah.
That's
that's-
how I was.
Or 21, really.
wow.
21?
It's going to be hard to get above The Wall, Jarrett.
I mean, not in my book, but hey,
Yeah. No kidding.
Jared's the worst.
Yeah.
What can
Jason,
we
why
say?
don't you tell us what
Confirmed.
the next episode's going to be about?
I thought it was about casseroles, but then I was told I was wrong. It's about meatloaf
Let's go.
and Bat Out of Hell by Meatloaf.
Heck yeah.
Come back. I know the host for this next one intimately, and
Whoa.
it's gonna be a great album. It's gonna be a good time. Meatloaf is back, baby. Meatloaf is back.
Meatloaf is back.
Wow. I didn't realize your wife was going to be on the podcast. Steven,
no.
how do you feel with everything that's happened today? Are you in
I
shock? Are you? What's going
I
on?
feel, cautiously up.
Thank you, Steven. That concludes this episode of the G.O.A.T Pod. If you enjoyed this or didn't, feel free to let us know by emailing us at thegoatpodemail@gmail.com or DM us on Instagram at thegoat_pod. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time.